I'm Mel.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Beck, and this is We Are Woman. In today's episode of We Are Woman, we're thrilled to have welcomed Vanessa Forbes. Vanessa is a remarkable musician and space holder whose beautiful music so powerfully captures the connection between us humans and something far greater than ourselves. Her first single, You Are Safe, has nearly 5 million listens on Spotify, and as you'll hear, holds a really special place in my heart. While Vanessa herself has around 60,000 listeners every single month on Spotify. We began the conversation around Vanessa's music, but naturally it evolved into a deeper exploration of things such as creativity. Creativity is not something we can force or manufacture. It flows through us when we allow ourselves to step aside. This idea of surrender and trust and resisting the urge to push, even in this world that constantly demands it of us, is something that left a lasting impression on me. We also delve into a theme central to the work of Sarah and Mel and myself, this concept of what does it truly take to feel at home in our body and allowing us to express ourselves fully. The conversation with Vanessa became a rich tapestry of music, creativity, healing our body, and the parts of us that are ready to emerge into the light. Of course, we discussed Vanessa's incredible new single, Speak Your Truth, which is out now and captures you from the very first line. You can find all of the links to Vanessa's music and her social media in our show notes. And of course, if you love what we do, please don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us enormously. Now, here's Vanessa. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for being here. I am so excited to have you here today. This is a little bit of a special moment for me because your music, and I will tell you about this later, but your music has been so important to me at so many really important points in my life. And I think Love Letters from the Universe is such a beautiful album and it really does feel like love letters from the universe. But before I introduce you and get you to also get you to introduce yourself, I just wanted to tell you, which I know we connected because I told you about my daughter who is obsessed with the song You're Safe, which was a really important song for me as well. And with my daughter, because she was adopted at a young age, the safety piece was always really important for me, and so we used to listen to your song together, and then she wanted to listen to it at night to go to bed, and she would just want the one song on repeat all night. And last year on my Spotify it said that I was in your top 3% listeners for the year, and a part of me was really excited by that. And then a part of me was like, top three, you must have some amazing listeners. So I did the maths on how many listens we would have had last year of the song You Are Safe, which is just the most beautiful song I've ever heard. And the song goes for about 6.5 minutes. My daughter sleeps for about 10 hours. That's roughly 95 listens a night. And then if she only listens to it for one night a week, that means that just the one song we've listened to nearly 5,000 times over the year, which
Oh
is
my God,
so, yeah.
that's so funny.
Is so amazing. And I'm just so grateful to you, Vanessa. And I think obviously your music means a lot to me. For people that are meeting you for the first time, would you please share maybe a little bit about your journey into creating music and in particular the style of music that you create that really feels so embodied and has such a healing connection?
Sure. So I grew up in a musical family. My mother was a folk singer, and we spent a lot of our holidays at folk festivals in New Zealand. And we had lots of different jamming and music sort of afternoons at our place. And music was really my mother's happy place. She was the happiest when she was playing or listening to music. And so I guess we were conditioned as well that music brings joy and it brings connection and happiness. So all of us naturally wanted to play music. I In my own right, I absolutely loved music. I don't know if you remember doing this as a teenager, but I'd put the headphones on and listen to, it was records back then. And I'd listen to a record from the beginning to the end, and I'd know every single part of it. I'd
Yeah.
know all the words, all the little nuances, every musical note, every solo. I'd know it all. And just that beautiful place that it puts you into when you are listening to something so intense,
Mm,
and when you know it so well. And so, sort of over the years, I really realized that I felt that music was almost like a portal to another world or to
mm,
a different reality. It was sort of would speak to me about something beyond what I could see in my everyday life. So as a musician, my sister was an incredible musician. So none of the rest of us kids really got a look in. So if ever I tried to play music in my family, I was pretty much told that I wasn't any good, and just I was pretty much ignored really. So when I moved to Australia from New Zealand, I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to join a really bad band and I'm going to play really bad music and I'm going to have so much fun doing it, because who cares whether it's good or
mm,
not? And that's exactly what I did. I landed in this terrible band and we played shocking music from time to time, but we actually got better. But
mm,
we loved it. We had so much fun. I think my own real musical journey started probably in my late 20s when I was going through a hard time and so I was teaching myself guitar and I knew probably three chords and I would just sit there and play those three chords over and over and I would just come up with a melody and then I would write I would sing whatever words came to mind or whatever I was feeling or whatever I was going through, and that was easy for me. It was just a natural process of experiencing or processing what I was going through. And so for me, those early songs are really lost love songs, the ones,
yeah. Beautiful.
which is okay. But then after a while, as the years sort of went past, I started to get into the Abraham, Jerry and Esther Hicks. Do you know Abraham at all? Oh, it was like a
Yeah.
revolution for me. It was Abraham is like an entity that is channeled by Esther Hicks, and her book Ask and It Is Given was on the New York bestseller times for years. It really brought in, you would have heard of the book The Secret. It was a much deeper version of that. The Secret was sort of glossy and glossed over a lot of things, but The Secret came from Jerry and Esther Hicks. And so I was probably in my early 30s at this point, and this song completely transformed my life and my outlook. And it really taught me that what was happening to me wasn't happening to me. It was me creating it consciously or mostly subconsciously through my own beliefs. So it really pulled me into an inner world of starting to figure out what my belief system was that was underlying my whole life and where it had come from and which beliefs served me and which ones needed to be let go of. And it taught me that how we focus, what we focus on, and that our mind is such an incredibly strong transmitter and receiver that whatever we focus on will come to us if we do that in the right way. There's a lot more to it than that. But I made a decision that I wasn't going to sing any more lost love songs because that was what I was putting out into the universe. And so I changed that all around, and I started to write songs that would help me to remember to keep my brain pointed in the right direction of positivity and the power that we all inherently have with our focus and our choices that we make. And that's how the Love Letters album was created. It was really like my own diary to remind myself, that's right, I have to keep thinking of the power that we have. And wow, what a concept that is, that we can choose, or we can, slowly, like a sculptor sculpt
Mm.
something and put something away. We can actually choose to create and imagine our lives how we would like it. And that for me it brought the power back to my life. And
Yeah.
definitely everything changed from there. So that's how my musical journey sort of began and went onward from there.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that the album's called Love Letters from the Universe as well, because as I listen, so it's funny actually, because I still remember the first time I hadn't heard your music, but I was sitting in a car with a friend and she had your album playing, and I saw the album cover and it really piqued my interest because you're sort of moving in this very pretty, flowing, flowing photo of you with the white background. And then at that time, I hadn't heard of you or your music before, but the album cover remained in my head for whatever reason, actually. And but when I hear the songs and the language that you use, it really does feel like the universe is communicating, and there's something I can't ever quite put my finger on it, that when you're communicating lyrics like I'm closer to you than your heartbeat, it really does feel like there's a greater something there that is speaking to me when I hear those lyrics. And it's so beautiful. And so, was there a moment for you where you realized that obviously you described the music pointing, using it as an opportunity to point your thoughts in the right direction, but was there a moment where you realized, oh, this is more than maybe just entertainment, that actually the music could become the medicine itself, and an opportunity and a pathway back to people's own self?
It For me, the music as a pathway was very much by this point ensconced in my belief system, because I had experienced it myself. I had experienced different songs, resonating with different songs and the words that would inspire me, and I could hear different instruments would affect different parts of my body. And I knew inherently, like, I would naturally be drawn to music even as a young, sort of adult. If I felt sick, I would take myself to bed and put one of those panpipe CDs on and just listen to it, and it would just be so calming. So I knew personally that it was very medicinal. But in terms of writing it for anyone else, I think the power about the Love Letters songs is that I didn't write it for anybody. I just wrote it as my diary. And so how there were no expectations. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere at all. It was just for me. And what happened with You Are Safe, it was I was living in a flat at the time, and I was working really, really hard, and I was out of balance. I was working too hard, and that space before you go to bed sometimes where you're too tired to sleep, but you're too tired to stay awake.
Yeah.
I was in that space.
Mm.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to sing the Gayatri Mantra, because that'll calm me down, and just sing and play. So the Gayatri Mantra, I sang that for the Deva Premal version for about 20 minutes or so. And the Gayatri Mantra means it's a chant that's chanted by millions of people throughout the world every day. And one of the oldest chants in humankind, or known, I think. It comes from the Vedas, And it means you are the universe, or you are the source. Please illuminate my heart and my mind. So that's the actual prayer within the Gayatri mantra. And so I was singing that, and as I was singing it, I thought to myself, well, if you're going to enlighten my heart or my mind, what would you say to me, like in really, really simple words that I can understand? I don't want, some quiet inner voice telling me. I just need simple, plain English. And that's when the words came: you are safe, you are loved, you are beautiful. You don't ever have to worry. I'm never leaving you. So that was the words that came. And then you are infinite, you're universal, you're eternal. That also came. And when I woke up the next morning, my flatmate, who was an Iranian guy, he comes in and he knocks on my door and he goes, "What were you playing last night?" And I just sort of fobbed him off and said, "Oh, no, it was nothing." And he goes, "I was crying on my bed. I don't know what you sang, but I was crying on my bed." And I'm like, "Oh,
Wow.
wow." And he goes, "Can you play it for me now?" And I'm like, "Oh, and he goes, "Come on, I'm not leaving my room until you play it. I'm not leaving your room until you play it." And I went, "Oh, okay." So I played it for him. And anyway, he had a lot of rugby mates, and they all came around that afternoon. And he's like, "Vanessa, play that song." And I'm like, "I can't play You Are Safe to all these rugby guys." And anyway, he made me play it. So I played it. Then what happened was, I was actually a photographer back then, and I had a big studio in Bondi, and I used to run music nights there once a month. They were called Absolute Soiree. And he asked me, he said, "Look, can you play that song?" So I played it there. And then once I played it in front of a lot of people. Everybody asked for it. I ended up traveling all over Sydney all the time just to play one song. And so that's how it was born. It was basically for my own healing.
Mm.
We're all one.
Yeah.
Whatever I resonate with naturally in my heart, authentically, is going to resonate with others. So that song's gone all over the world and helped a lot of people. So I feel very, very, very grateful that's come through.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's very inspiring to hear you speak in that way about your music and about your songs. And if I was to sort of like translate that almost into my words, it's like what I'm receiving from that is this sort of, it was actually the universe loving itself through you towards itself, which is like from everything and nothing through you to everything and nothing out here. And that you were the channel that came through somehow. And it sounds like you were really able, to be non-attached actually to sort of the outcome, which is kind of like what I'm hearing you say. These are my words, but I'm translating it into my words, which is kind of what I hear when you say you didn't write it for anyone else. You didn't write it with a particular purpose in mind, so to speak. You didn't, and so you almost like how I would work with people is like you got yourself out of the way, so to such a degree, right? That this powerful energy was simply able to move through you, and then life did its thing and took it on its own course, and here we are. Right? So yeah, very beautiful. It's I really respect that, because what comes up for me is, I know in my own work and with people, is that what that requires is a deep surrender and a trust into life. Yeah, into I suppose the unknown, if that's a word we want to use. But I'm just curious to hear from you. Was there anything, I mean, you spoke into it a little bit, but anything that you can point to in sort of maybe a more specific way that you felt like was within you, that was allowed you to surrender in that way? Because the reason I ask that is because I think a lot of people in the world today, and also because of how we're conditioned so much in our society, it's very much about in some way achieving your career or achieving the things you do, and there's a forcefulness that can come with that. And I suppose what we're exploring in this podcast is very much also the feminine essence within all of us, males and females, all things and all beings, I guess, and how that is actually the creative act. And it's in the surrendering that the creativity comes through. And so I'm just it's such a courageous act as well, because I think so many of us can look at the world and be like, what can I give? What can I deliver? How can I be of value? Right? And actually potentially doing the exact opposite can then actually create so much value. But because it's not our agenda. And yeah, just I'm really curious to hear your perspective on, I guess, that what I just framed, and also how you were able to, or maybe you noticed a particular thought of like, I can't do this anymore, and therefore you surrendered or something, like some maybe giving up, or and I say giving up, these are my words, but yes, a moment that where it clicked for you, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, I was definitely in a space of total exhaustion,
Mm,
total desperation. I was like, "Oh, I am stuck. I am just I just don't know what else to do. You know, I need some enlightenment. I need some help. Please help me." So really it was like a prayer.
mm,
It was a prayer for help. It was, and it was in a place where it was probably, one of my darkest moments. It was like I was just beyond. So yes, it was definitely deep surrender,
mm,
and coupled with a prayer of, can you give me something here,
hmm
Mm.
hmm
and
can you take over somehow, maybe, or like, yeah, sure.
yeah, it was all of those things, but it was also, a deep honesty of, acknowledging where I was, and just it wasn't it was honesty in a safe space, though. It was just me in my bedroom at
Mm,
midnight, just trying to get through the next moment, going, where do I go from here? What do I do? And
mm,
so, sometimes in those really dark times, things can happen and can come through, can't they? Whereas, it wasn't coming from and it's difficult to conjure that place up as well. I found it to be, how people say if you have a big hit or a book or something, the second book or the second something is a lot harder to do. And I've definitely found that, because the first one, there's no expectations.
Mm.
And the second one, there is expectations, and there's ego in the way. And there's like, okay, now I need to do something more, or I need to do something different, or I need to do something better, or just as good as. And
Mm.
Elizabeth Gilbert talked about this all the time, that after her Eat, Pray, Love book, she really, really struggled. And quite often that second
mm,
body of work won't be as good, because there's just so much more pressure put on it that we put on ourselves as well. And so I feel like that's definitely been for me, because I released You Are Safe 10 years ago now. Then I was just like done. I was like, oh, I can't do anything. So for 5 years, I didn't do anything. And then
Mm.
5 years, I've been trying to do stuff and gone, it's not as good. Maybe that's not as strong. I shouldn't release it. No, let's just let that one go. And also, now I'm in a completely different state of life, a different phase of life. Like back then, now I've gone through menopause. So that is such a big change that you don't really understand until you've gone through it. And all kinds of things happen emotionally that you don't actually even know is happening, or you don't attribute it to that phase of your life. So your inner demons come out. My inner demons came out a lot stronger,
Mm.
and you don't have as much belief in yourself, and yeah, it's insane. So when I was writing this next body of songs, they weren't positive like the love letters. I was trying to be as authentic as I could. And being authentic was acknowledging that life wasn't necessarily rosy. That toxic positivity that you want to
Yeah.
avoid as well. So I was kind of trying to strike that balance between where I'm sitting and where I needed to be. So I was very scared and very nervous of putting out these new songs.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for speaking to that. I can very much relate to the process of creativity when I did some of my first paintings. They were so they were so good, but it was very similar to what you were describing, because it was from this place of like, I have nowhere to go actually, and this is the only possible thing that I can see that I can express myself and actually put into form what I couldn't express in any other way. And I suppose music is similar, like the unheard, the unseen, and putting it into form, into shape. And that process it takes such an immense surrender. Yeah. I believe to do that, and it's the creative process of that is so much more in my experience, and yeah, what I'm hearing you speak into as well is so much more about allowing it to move through us and yeah. So yeah, I really hear that, and yeah, really hearing also the challenge around what the next album or the songs after, how much more challenging that was. And do you have practices or tools for yourself that maybe do help you find that new creativity again, or find different ways, I guess, of creating? Yeah.
I didn't, and I just didn't do anything. I felt like I was really creatively stuck for a long time. And then I just sort of suddenly started again. But it would have been great to have some tools to work through that. That probably would have been a lot faster. But I eventually just started again, just naturally. That stuckness and creativity is comes and goes for me, comes and goes. And I feel like I'm probably stuck again, but it's really about doing it. It's really about just keeping on doing it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Breath,
beautiful.
good thing.
What'd you say?
I said, though, a bit of breath work would probably be a good thing.
Yeah, and I do hear you, and maybe, like, I think, yeah, certain tools to make us more grounded into our bodies, making maybe going for walks in nature, breath work, like just things like I suppose that inspire can help. And then I also think there is, yeah, just the intelligence of life kind of decides it for us a little bit as well, in terms of like there are maybe just more creative phases than others. Yeah, love that.
And taking the pressure off. We all forget to play. We keep trying to get to the end of the journey, and it's like,
Hmm.
and have something good instead of just mucking around and having fun.
Yeah, and that, I guess, that requires a lot of safety. And what I mean by safety, to your song, your first song, maybe not so much external safety, but just safety in our being. Yeah, to be ourselves and to feel at home in our bodies. Yeah, which is so much of what Rebecca Beck and my work is so much about as well. So it's a beautiful alignment there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something I heard from you when you were describing just the writing process of You Are Safe is this quality of coming to a point where everything felt like, I want to use the word burning down, but that's only because we recently did a podcast episode on sort of the burning it all down in order to rise again. So I heard that in your story of being in Bondi and photography. And what I realize is You Are Safe came to me at probably the most pinnacle moment of just sheer surrender in my life. I was with working with someone in a therapeutic setting, and I was just at this point where I was feeling so overwhelmed. I thought I was going to die, genuinely. And the person I was working with put your song on, and I just went into this complete state of surrender. And it felt like this was the moment where everything just came falling down. So it feels a little bit serendipitous that you described that as a moment in which you wrote the song, or the song came to you in as the same moment that I received the song for the first time as well. And what it did was it just really allowed me to be there in surrender, and the music felt like it was coming from my heart and became a place for me to reconnect with myself again, just in that can't do anything, lying there like a corpse state that I was in. And I guess my question for you is, yeah, what do you think it is about music like yours, even when people I don't think are necessarily spiritual or religious, but when music comes and it speaks and it feels like it's almost speaking from spirit in whatever, choose your language there. Why do you think that it helps or can help people, women, men and women, really connect and heal into themselves in a way that maybe other things can't work?
Um, I think I think as beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so is
Mm,
healing. Like, I feel like some people may have had that song and it just didn't touch them, or they didn't focus on it, and it might have gone straight through. But, I do really, really believe in a higher divine intelligence that goes through our whole lives all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. And, the healing came to you, but also through you, that it was your divine intelligence that brought that song in, and that song came through me. It wasn't from me. It was kind of like it came through me because of the
mm,
experience that I was experiencing and the questions and the prayer that I asked. And it's found its way to people where it has really, really, really helped a lot of people, but that's them helping themselves through that
mm.
song almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and I think that song has got its power because it's true.
Mm.
That's what
Mm,
I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I love that. I love that. Like it's true in its love and in its purity, and you just can't argue with that. Yeah, and if the receiving party, so to speak, is ready, I guess, to pop, or whether that's or to flourish, it will touch that. And so do I believe. I love this that we're talking about this, because I believe like everything in the universe really works like that. We get exposed and faced with certain things when we're ready to see it as well, and in that then becomes the healing becomes possible. And it's this quality of readiness, I suppose. But it's not even us deciding that, even. Yeah, it's like there's such a grand sort of intelligence at play that is just running through all of us and everything. And the surrender is maybe just in that, even. Yeah, so I love that we're speaking on this level. Beck, you're smiling because I love this.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the idea of it coming through you. And I really hear that in certain music that I just can't turn away from. And so as simple as something like My Sweet Lord, George Harrison's song, it's not that it's religious, it's that sense of urgency and calling that I hear from him that feels so beautiful, and I just want to hear it over and over again. And I think music is such a beautiful connector to really help us as humans go to places that are a little bit uncomfortable for us to go to. But then to hear a song like My Sweet Lord as the example, where he's sort of really calling in, I really want to be with you, I really want to hear you or see you. It feels like, oh, there's something so powerful and connecting to the way in which he speaks to that. And I think that's what I really love about the way that you sing as well. It's not just obviously You Are Safe was the beautiful opening song to this, well, 10-year space. I was going to say newer space for you. But it's the way in which you call that I think is so beautiful and powerful, and I hear it in all of your songs that I've listened to. I hear it in Demons and The Sun Will Shine, and that beautiful calling quality that I can't quite put my finger on why that's so powerful. But yeah, thank you.
That's great. And I also love that song. And I think why that song is also so powerful is he really does touch on, and this is what I love about good lyrics in a song, like, songs that resonate, like where he goes, I really want to be with you. I really want to feel you. I really want to. And who hasn't experienced that where it's like, come on, you're
Mm,
invisible, where's
Yeah.
the divine that I want to touch and I can't touch you, you know? And I think that's what's so strong about that song, you know, is that he
Mm.
articulates that something that we all feel.
Mm.
But yeah, but moving from that, this could sound a little crazy, but it's probably worth mentioning it because we are talking about the healing power of music. So something happened to me back in the 90s. I went to a past life reader, and I didn't even know, you know, they were around back then. It was very new back then. But she said something to me that I have never forgotten. And actually, I had long forgotten it, but when you asked, when I looked at your questions, I was reminded of it. She sat across the table from me. I'd been there for about a minute, and she goes, "Oh, you play the piano?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And she goes, "Yeah, yeah, you get lost in it, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And she said, "Between lives, you work on a sound healing plane." And I said, "What
Wow.
does that mean?" And she said, "Well, when people have traumatic lives or traumatic deaths, they are so traumatized that they can't actually move
Mm.
anywhere. So there's lots and lots of different healing modalities, but one of them is sound healing or music, because it gives people an opportunity just to, you know, release and let go of whatever they're really hanging tightly onto, where they
Mm.
can start to come back to themselves. You know, they can start to come back to, yeah, not hanging on to something so tightly.
Mm.
I didn't really it didn't really make much sense to me at the time because I was very young. I was, you know, probably 20 when she
Mm.
said this, and but over the years it stayed with me because it was such a concept that I hadn't ever thought of before. And you know, it's really sort of, it's validated me quite a few times where I've gone, oh yeah, sound healing, it's a thing. It's already in our being. It's already in our cells. It's
Mm.
Mm.
music is one of the tools that we can use to help us to de-stress, to let go of things that we are holding on to, you know,
Mm.
to help us to see another way. It is like a portal, and
Mm.
it's being used like a portal for God knows how long. Like I feel like this is one of the things that we are blessed with, is
Mm.
to have this music.
Yeah, I really also believe, and I'm so happy to see actually that in our, I guess, I suppose more Western society, there's more open-mindedness now to these kind of maybe we can say alternative approaches, or in
Mm.
my perception, it's not actually very alternative, it's very
No.
ancient and it's actually very wise. I think so often the same way with breathwork, but in sound healing as well. But I guess like there is more open-mindedness now. People are definitely starting to tune into it more, that these tools can be so profound for really deep healing, because it is not just some sort of alternative fluff. It's actually it's within our bones, it's within our blood to want to create and be created through us, and feel ourselves. Because ultimately, when I look at healing and really inquire into, you know, what is that really, it is the reclaiming, the reorganizing of parts within us that weren't allowed or welcome, or have been suppressed or hurt or damaged in some way, and the actual full reclaiming of those parts, which I find with music, if I listen to music, I have felt different, I suppose, healing opportunities for healing with different songs in different points of my life. And I sort of, I guess, put that to that was the particular song that I needed to hear in that moment for that particular part in me that was just ready to emerge again, or ready to come back into light again. Yeah, so like instead of it being in the dark, quote unquote, and being out of my conscious awareness, I was able to, through that song, remember that part of me, oh, that of me, part of me also exists and can be here. And I guess like that's my definition of healing. Be super curious to hear actually, Vanessa, what your definition of healing is and how you see music playing into that. But yeah, that's what comes up for me as well. Like it can very easily be put into the fluff bucket, I suppose, like because maybe we just haven't actually inquired into and understand on a deeper scientific level for sure, but then maybe deeper frequency level, spiritual level. And then even if we look at ancient tribes, how powerful music and song and singing and all of these tools really are for healing, and that we might not need some of the other things. And definitely, I mean, in some maybe extreme cases, sure, but the easefulness with which we give people medication and so on is like, are there different ways we can try first? Is kind of what comes up for me. Yeah.
I think I almost want to take out the word healing, because healing is such a loaded word, and people think, oh, how can music heal? And to me, it's like, if you've got cancer, for example, it might not heal you of cancer, so to speak, but so much sickness has been created through repressed emotions. And music is one of the tools in which to process emotions. And
Yeah.
in that way, I feel like it's healing. In that way, I feel like it's a way to navigate through the daily trials and tribulations of life that we all go through, and through our own inner emotional landscape. It can really help us to reset our brains, reset ourselves, reset our emotions, and that's the healing aspect of music. I know that with my sound journeys, people have Fitbits on sometimes, and then they come out and they go, "Oh my God, my heart rate dropped right down." And other people, are like, "Oh, I seemed to connect to something that was bigger than me," or I had a really intuitive guidance thing that came to me, or I saw visions. And so that just the simple act of lying down and listening to something that's gentle and calming, or lying down to something that they resonate with, can help your brain waves go from beta, fight and flight or full movement, into theta, which is, theta brain state is the brain state that's responsible, or that really contributes to creativity, to guidance, to intuition, to a deeper connection to self and others. So it's got all those really subtle, it's such a beautiful, subtle way of moving our brains away from a stressed place where, cortisol levels can start to drop, and inspiration can come up and flood our bodies and our brains with endorphins and, dopamine and all of those things. So I think in that way, it's like a tool that we can use to healing. It's not the only one, it's one of many, but it's a very strong one for a lot of people.
It's funny because we live in this world these days where we want to quantify everything with data. And so I like that people are getting the data from their Fitbits going to your sound healing journeys, which is really beautiful. But I think sometimes, and I know you said healing, it's such a loaded word, but I think at times healing can't be quantified. And some really beautiful examples I see of just how powerful music is to healing is, I don't know if either of you have ever watched the videos of people with Alzheimer's and someone's playing them a piano or playing them a song, and Sarah, you used the words returning parts of themselves that have gone missing. You can really see that in people's faces in that moment where it all comes back to them, and parts of themselves that have been exiled or had gone through the process of their dementia or Alzheimer's. All of these parts come flooding back, and if we try and quantify that with data on how do we explain that, it can feel very difficult to do that. And I'm sure science has caught up a little bit to be able to explain that, but just to see and to witness, and I think for many of us to actually feel what music does for us in that process, it's so profound. And someone asked me the other day in a different podcast, is there anything in the world you can't live without? And 100% it's music for me, because I can pick this song and it brings this up, and this song it brings this up. It's just the most powerful tool we have. And as Sarah, you talked about it, it's so ancient and wise. And you talked about the way that music has landed for you. It wasn't you writing it, it was that music was coming through you. And yeah, the idea of healing, sometimes we can't really quantify it. We just need to go back and just be with it in order to notice that it's happening. You talked about that you run these sound healing journeys, and I wanted to know, is there anything you witness in those journeys from the dogs? Yeah, is there anything that you witness in those journeys often, or that you see come alive in people that take you back, or that really inspire you?
People often say, "Oh my gosh, that went so fast," because I can get worried about that people are lying down for an hour and a half. But that they always come up and say how fast it went. Everyone usually is very still for that whole hour and a half. And I, because people are lying down, I don't get much feedback of what's happening. So I really don't really quite know how it's gone. But people keep coming back and back and back. Every time I put a sound journey on down where I am, it's filled. It gets filled straight away. So it's definitely something that people find really useful, and
Mm.
they love it. It's just, because we don't often, especially in these times, give ourselves much time to just be off our phone, um, be away somewhere and just lie down and listen. I mean,
Mm.
it's such a healing thing to do, but not many people give themselves time to do it. It's really good. I mean, and I've found over the time, I have found that different textures of sound really help the journey, and lots and lots and lots of silence in between is incredible. It just, the silence is, um, I'm using the silence in between the songs as much as the actual songs almost, because it's just so powerful for people, because it's like the sound takes them somewhere, and you don't want to have another sound to take them somewhere else. You just want them to drift in that place for a little while
Mm.
and have their experience, or that they're connecting on a deeper level to spirit or to themselves or somewhere. So there's a lot that goes on in those sound journeys that's behind the eyes.
Yeah, I really love that you speak to that as well, because if you were to take social media as the sort of standard of what healing, I'm going to use that language now, what all of these sorts of things should look like, you might be under the impression that it should be all loud and all big expressions of movement and cathartic releases and sort of big healing experiences. And Sarah and Mel and I, we experienced this as well through our FBR breathwork journeys, that sometimes it might look to us on the outside that like nothing's happening. Someone's just lying there so still. And then they come out of that journey and they have so much to share about their experience. But I really love that you describe that, because we live in a world where more is more, bigger is better. And sometimes it's important to come back to the softness, the slow, the quiet, the still. And in that, and as you described, having those pauses in between sound allows people to hear what they might not get a chance to hear when everything's so loud.
Totally. I mean, look, there's some people that need TV on to go to sleep to.
Mm,
It's that silence thing that we don't, there's quite a few people that don't want, that can't have silence. It's too threatening.
mm,
And
Yeah, it's I can imagine. I'd be curious how you experience this, Vanessa, but I can imagine that it's quite the art and the skill to know when to, I suppose, with songs and sound, take people somewhere, and then to know when to stay. Because sometimes the taking them somewhere is actually providing the gateway or the, you know, the pathway to something that maybe hasn't been felt or experienced before. And so therefore that's the piece that quote unquote wants to be discovered. But then yeah, sometimes it's in the silence, and we don't always know. I guess this is like what comes up for me is it's very similar to in a breathwork session with clients. Like I can come in as a facilitator with probably 100, 200, 300 different options of facilitation I could come into at any point. And I choose something based on what I see. And there's an intuitive sense, and there's a variety of lenses I hold that make me choose something. And it's going to take people into a particular pathway of exploration. And then the next time they might come, they go into a different pathway because everything will be different. Like they will be different, I will be different, the music might be different, their system is different. And so it's yeah, I'm curious how you see that, because I guess I'm sharing my lens, like the way I see, I guess, working with okay, let's use it, healing modalities or ways of different tools of bringing us back to ourselves. And yeah, there's all of these, so many possibilities we can explore in that. And yeah, maybe Vanessa, I'd be super curious to hear from you of like, do you have certain choice points you make in terms of whether you have music or silence, or whether you take people into different places, and if so, what are those choice points, or it's just purely intuitive? And yeah, be curious to hear that.
Yeah, I've come to the realization that if I can just do whatever I feel and trust that that's the right thing, then I get to step out of my own way and just do it. And if I sort of start to worry about whether I'm doing it right, or if I'm leaving this sound or silence for too long or whatever, then I get into my head and I get out of my body.
Mm-hmm.
The point for a sound journey for me is to try to stay in my body as authentically as I can and just do whatever I'm feeling, and that I will pick up on what needs to be done.
Yeah.
You know, I love doing the sound journeys because it really is a total exercise in trust and surrender, and trusting
Mm.
that I'll be doing the perfect thing in the perfect moment. And if that looks something different to what I was planning, then that's what I need to do. And so basically that's what I'm going on these days, where I just allow it to be whatever it is. And the it's really in the eyes of the beholder again as to where they go and where they don't go.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
just there to try and step out of my own way and
Mm-hmm.
do it like it feels right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. It's almost like the space is simply set up for it. The people are there, you are there, the instruments are there, and then the rest is kind of up to the universe and to
Yeah,
how, in terms of how that gets created and how that lands and gets received. Yeah.
yeah. And I always like to set the space with intention
Mm-hmm.
beforehand and make sure that, you know, the mechanical part is done, that the sound is sounding good, that everything's there on time and set up well before time, so that I can, you know, sort of connect in and relax and put my intention through. And then I tend to imagine it at the other end, that it's already happened, and that people are, you know, are coming out of it and they have experienced what they need to. And then I just have to trust that that happens.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Can we talk about your new single?
Yes.
Yeah, so your new single is Speak Your Truth. And what I really love about this is I think it feels like an evolution. So the songs on Love Letters, they all felt like wisdom coming from the universe. And the sun will shine, also a little bit the same around the wisdom coming from the universe, the sun will shine again. And this feels like the next evolution of someone's journey. And I really felt it in me. Almost the universe was asking the questions of you now. So the very first lyrics, the question that came, I was like, "Oh, good question." Uh, and I really love that because I think, and I guess to that point in safety, which we spoke about earlier, and You Are Safe being the first song that often people come across, we set that sort of safety around you bringing in all of your parts. And then it's like the next evolution is the questions that come. How do you know that this is right? And so I'd love to know, yeah, the birth story or the journey that brought Speak Your Truth to life.
So I was out to dinner with my family, and I was watching across the table. My niece was sitting in between two people that were arguing, and they were just arguing straight over top of her, and I could see almost the energy of them being like mud, and I could see her being slowly swamped. And I was sitting there going, what can I do? How can I get her out of this without adding to the confusion of it all?
Mm.
And I didn't know what to do. And I could see that she was struggling to state her boundaries and to stand up for herself, that was not nice for her. And she eventually did. She just stood up and left, which was great. But it
Good on
took a
you.
long to get to that point.
Mm.
And it kind of broke my heart at the time because I could see it, and I could see she couldn't stand up. But I also wanted to tell her how beautiful she is, what a beautiful person and gorgeous, just golden light person she is, and how someone could do this. So
Mm.
and so I went home that night and I wrote a song, and I thought, I'm just going to write this song to you about how you matter. You've got every right to say stop fighting around me. But she
Mm.
couldn't. And as I was writing it for her, I actually burst into tears while I was writing it because I realized I was writing it for myself. I realized, God, like how many times has someone taken advantage or treated me badly or, I mean, countless, countless, countless times where I haven't stood up for myself. And for a moment, I saw myself as that beautiful, beautiful divine spirit that had got trampled on, as I was seeing that was happening with her. And I just had a real heart opening at the time of just so much empathy for the journey that I'd been on and for the journey that, so many people have been on. And especially with us as women, there's been a lot of strong conditioning around, um, we put others first. Men are the stronger ones. Quite often we submit to them,
Mm.
even want to, even if we don't agree with that, I still see myself doing that and sort of being stuck in things because I didn't really see myself as the person that could get out of it or needed to get out of it. I just didn't
Mm.
see my own self-worth. So it's really a song about self-abandonment towards empowerment, towards our self-empowerment. And, it's a journey that we're all on. And I was trying to make it as authentic as I could. And I know that some people kind of go, oh, I don't like those words. And I was a little bit nervous again about putting it out. But the truth is, like what makes you think that you don't matter, that you
Mm.
have to stand there and deal with that or deal with anything that you don't like and who made you feel that you're not as important as they are?
Yeah.
And where did this all come from, and why do we do it? And where it goes into the chorus of, you're divine, that's what you are. So that's what the song's about.
Mm.
It was witnessing her dealing with that really shone the light on that's happened to me countless times, and
Mm.
that I still actually do it. Even today I will pull out or stay silent instead of sticking up for what I believe in for an argument if I want to keep the peace.
It's so
Mm.
interesting the ways in which that can present in women as well. I was working with someone earlier today, and what we spoke about afterwards, I could feel it. And then she mentioned it, this quality of not allowing herself to be held, that she felt like she needed to hold herself. So if I was, lifting up her head, she'd lift up her head for me, or if I was moving her arm, she'd lift up her arm. And I happen to know that she's a mum and she's carrying a lot. And I love the question that you ask, because I think that's the question that I think it presents in so many little micro ways that we don't matter as much, or we need to hold for everyone else, but we can't be held ourselves, or uh, it's not necessary that we deserve to be held ourselves. So I really get that sense of your niece almost being invisible in that moment with the sort of two people having this argument, and um, good on her for getting up and sort of standing up and being and mattering.
Mm.
Totally.
Mm.
And you're absolutely right. It's all those little micro moments
Mm.
we tend to do it. And it was quite interesting because I was with the producer at the time that we were doing this, and we were having an argument because he kept on shaming me into wanting to not change something, and I'm like, he's trying to shame me to do what he wants to do, and I'm like, you know what? I have to speak my truth. If I don't speak my truth, I'm not living this song, because it was on this song.
Mm.
So I said to him, listen, the way you're reacting to me wanting to change something here means that it's not safe for me to be able to be authentic in what I'm trying to create here. So you need to let me change my mind if I want to change my mind. He eventually said sorry, but it's so hard sometimes, isn't it, to actually say your truth and say it articulately and say it
Mm.
clearly,
Mm.
say it in a way that someone's not going to be defensive.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, I mean, good on him for receiving that so well, and that he was actually then able to work with that, because yeah, I guess to this point of like back what you were speaking to, of like how many of us don't fully allow ourselves to be held. Yeah. I I, I would say, yeah, that goes for women, but I also see that a lot for men. And I think I just want to speak into that, because I do think that's just very important, that a lot of men don't allow themselves to be held at all. I think men sometimes struggle more than women in that regard as well. And the reason I bring that up is because I kind of want to make it gender neutral in that sense. And what I have really been exploring over the last year in particular, but with both my female and my male clients as well, is this idea of the feminine in all of us needs to feel held. There's the masculine pole within all of us that can kind of assert and be more directive and be hold ourselves, I suppose, a bit more. Yeah, which is standing up and it maybe like speaking your truth. It's almost like a bit more of a masculine energy, I think. And then there's also in all of us, males and females, the feminine pole of like, can I just let go and surrender and relax into life more, and maybe the song holds both, is kind of what I'm hearing. Yeah. I think what I'm seeing, and it is sort of like, this is, I guess, my my analysis of what's happening in the world, is on the one hand, there's a more structured society, and there's a very structured piece that's coming in with AI, which we can say is more masculine in some way. And then in the other way, it seems to also be increasing because of this maybe more imposed structure, there is so much more of a need to we really can't predict the future, like we never can, but particularly now, I suppose, like it's very like anything's possible pretty much. And so what does it require of us as a larger family of humanity is this quality, I believe, in real surrender. And I think that is a feminine quality in us, to actually start to be held and trust nature, life, the universe, whatever name you want to give it, and start to realize that maybe we somehow are going back to more natural ways. And maybe the way to do that is not through more force and structure, but through a relaxation and letting go. And I think we're kind of collectively, this is my perception a little bit, we're kind of a little bit pushed into that. Because we really don't really have much choice. But yeah, speak your truth. I'm going off topic maybe a little bit now, but speak your truth. Yeah, it's so powerful to have I guess what comes up for me is the integration of the polarity within ourselves, and therefore potentially in that song of like, we can lovingly speak our truth with, you know, lovingly, with the awareness that it's all okay fundamentally, or perfect fundamentally, and this thing is not okay. Yeah. And it's like, how do we balance that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I think if we always avoid doing that, then like everything else, speaking your truth is a skill,
Mm.
a skill to do it. To articulate exactly what it is, and it's almost like that nonviolent communication where it's not
Mm.
your fault. It's like, this is not okay for me for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we avoid it, we avoid that's why the second verse is, the thunderstorm and the rains will clear, and the rivers that flow will feed the flowers that grow. Because if you stand up for yourself, you're backing yourself, and you're also building your skill, and you're also learning whether you did it right or wrong. You're also learning from that. Whereas pulling away, you're just keeping yourself,
Mm.
think of it safe, but you're kind of actually also making yourself a bit smaller. Do you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, hiding, and maybe in some ways we can even say it's actually less safe, even though it might in the moment be perceived to be more safe, but actually in actuality, what
Yeah,
it means in terms of the ripple effects of our life, it's actually less safe. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful invitation for people to speak their truth more and actually find deeper safety in their voice, I guess, is what I'm hearing in that. Yeah.
that's it.
Hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us about Speak Your Truth? Obviously, you can tell us where we can find it because it's out now as this goes to air, or it's launched.
It's launched on the 1st of May. So it's out now, so you can listen to it on Spotify or on any streaming platform at all. So yes, Vanessa Forbes, Speak Your Truth. That's what you need to look up. So I hope you enjoy it, and drop me a line. I'd love to hear what people are thinking of it. Yeah, you can find me on all of the socials under Vanessa Forbes Music.
Yeah, amazing. And just to also pop in there as well, that it really helps artists, whether it be through music or podcasting, if you subscribe. So if you like Speak Your Truth, or if you've never heard Vanessa's music before and you're listening to it and it really does touch you in some way, don't forget to press subscribe because that really helps out as well. And also, if you're listening to this, don't forget to press subscribe as well. I also just wanted to reiterate as well what Vanessa said. I reached out to Vanessa a few years ago because, as I said earlier, your music just it's so funny how impactful it is on Hazel. She can't sit still for a second. She's running around like crazy. And the minute I put your songs on, she's silent, she's still, and she's just with your music. And I felt really compelled to let you know that because as a mum witnessing that, that was just incredible. And just to reiterate what Vanessa said, she really is so open to having those conversations. And it was so beautiful of you to respond to me then. And I can tell you, I shared your first email with Hazel, and she just thought it was the best thing ever. And now she has this little spot in her cupboard where she closes the cupboard and writes her own songs as well. So you've really inspired her so much. But just really recognizing just how gracious you are in connecting with people, and it really shines through in your music, but it shines through in the person that you are as well. So I just really want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. I've so enjoyed talking to you both on this podcast. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And I just really love hearing that story, that Hazel loves it so much. And I
Mm.
also really love it that she's starting to write her own music. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's amazing.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. So thank
Yeah.
you both so much for inviting me and for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
yeah,
Hmm.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Vanessa.
So that's our conversation with Vanessa, a conversation I'm truly grateful for. There's something in the way that she speaks about music and creation that brings everything back to what truly matters. And what I'm left with is a profound sense that much of what we seek doesn't come from trying harder, but from softening enough to receive what's already there, to let something move through us rather than always needing to control it. That's the power of what Vanessa shared, how music can meet people exactly where they are and help something within them to return it to its own place in its own time. It feels less like healing is something we do, rather more like something that happens when there's enough space and enough safety. So thank you so much, Vanessa. Thank you for your openness and thank you for allowing all of this to unfold exactly as it wanted to be. If you'd like to connect with Vanessa, you can find all the links to her social media and her songs in our show notes. And don't forget to listen to Speak Your Truth on Spotify now. So that's all from us today. Thank you so much for tuning in to We Are Woman. I hope today's conversation gave you something to reflect on, to feel into, or to carry with you into the rest of your week. Please make sure to click subscribe on your favourite podcast platform so you never miss the latest episodes as they drop. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a woman that would find it helpful, because this isn't just our podcast, it's all of ours, together. You can also follow us on Instagram at We Are Woman Podcast to stay connected, share your thoughts, and join our growing sisterhood. We've got some very special events planned and would love for you to be a part of them. Thank you for being here.